Hi guys, it's OPPO and today we have a very special video for you. On the table we have the very latest ecosystem from OPPO. We have the OPPO Find X Pro smartphone, the OPPO Watch and the OPPO Enco X earbuds. Just going to wait a little bit for Dotty, who's munching over there on her food, so you may hear that on the mic, so we'll just wait.
One eternity later.
She's taking ages. We're going to have to crack on. I apologise. So before we get to all of the information, let's get these bad boys unboxed. So we're going to start with the OPPO Find X Pro 5G. Nice little matte black silicone case there. Manuals, SIM card ejector tool, phone. And as you can see, we have this lovely mirror finish on the back here. It is going to be a fingerprint magnet, but it looks pretty beautiful. And this really unique design to house the camera with the sloping edges. I'm a big fan of that. Looks very sleek. Now we're going to quickly unbox the OPPO Watch. So we have these lovely sloping edges to this square design. And then again, we have the manual and charger as well. And finally, we're going to unbox the OPPO Enco X. I think I've pronounced that right. Let's hope so anyway. And straight away, as you can see, the collective ecosystem here is pretty stylish looking indeed. And then inside here, again, we have the manuals, some different sized tips, and we have the earbuds here as well. Now again, this is black to match the watch. Type-C charging, of course, there as well, the same as the phone. So OPPO's Find X series of phones is one of my personal favourites. They previously set the tech world's chins wagging when they launched the original Find X, as it really pushed the futuristic boundaries of the full-screen bezel-less display and included one of the first ever pop-up motorised cameras. The Find X2 Pro was another very popular phone when it launched in 2020, and then the third edition here followed suit when it launched earlier this year. So being in that comparison, you won't be surprised to know that we have some pretty hefty specs and features here. Qualcomm Snapdragon 888, 12GB of RAM, 256GB of storage, 5G connectivity, stereo speakers, IP68 rating, and an impressive quad camera setup. We have a 50MP primary sensor, a 50MP ultra-wide, a 30MP telephoto with 5x hybrid zoom, and a 3MP microscope camera. Now, I personally wouldn't have much use for the microscope camera, but that's not to say that a lot of you wouldn't, and it's actually pretty fun to have a play around with, and certainly a unique feature that a lot of smartphones don't have. The primary sensor gives really great details with nice colour temperatures and really quick autofocus, although in lower light that's certainly not quite as effective. Portrait shots by default offer a really nice realistic depth on the bokeh or blurred background, which I like, compared to some others like the Pixel 6 Pro for example, which does sometimes look that little bit more artificial, as backgrounds are very blurred by default compared to the foreground focal point. These sorts of things can of course be tweaked in post, but it is nice to have that sort of direct default from the camera itself. The ultra-wide also being 50MP is great because we can also get some really nice sharp details even when cropping in. However, even though we do have a telephoto lens here, as mentioned, it is 5x hybrid zoom, so short distance zoom shots like 2x and 5x look really nice and sharp, but 15x and 20x zoom shots, for example, aren't perhaps quite as good as some phones that have a standard 5x optical zoom when comparing side by side. If we flip to the front camera, this is a 32MP sensor, and here are a couple of examples of its performance. If it makes me look good, it must be decent. Let me know in the comments whether you think it did or not. The front camera is of course housed in a punch hole cutout at the top left hand side of the display, which is a really bright and vibrant 120Hz LTPO curved AMOLED display. So the refresh rate, how many times the screen refreshes per second, can go from 120Hz, 120 times per second, down to just 1 Hz, 1 times per second, if you're viewing something that it thinks that you don't need a smooth experience from, like viewing a photo, for example. The higher the refresh rate, the higher battery consumption usually, so the fact that it can lower it is really nice to see. And speaking of battery, we have a 4500 mAh capacity here, which isn't the biggest we've seen in the flagship Android market, but it's pretty decent. And you do have OPPO's SuperVOOC 2.0 65 watt fast charging from 0 to 40% in just around 10 minutes. And it has 30 watts fast wireless charging and reverse wireless charging if you wanted to perhaps charge a pair of wireless earbuds, for example, which is a perfect segue into the second of the three products, and that is of course the Enco X wireless earbuds. These have been co-created with renowned Danish loudspeaker makers Dynaudio, who amongst other things are the audio supplier for Bugatti cars. Now with that, sound is, as you would expect, pretty impressive indeed. Bass is really nice and punchy for the size of these things, and the mids and highs are really nice and clear too. Honestly, the beefy nature of the sound really surprised me. We have ANC or active noise cancellation here, which can be activated with a press and hold of the earbud stems, and doing the same again then gives you access to transparency mode, so you can be aware of the surroundings around you if you wanted to keep an eye out for traffic or you wanted to ask for directions, for example. Other gestures also control volume, play, pause and skipping tracks, and it's easy and nice and responsive. You have around 25 hours of playback from the case, and you have about 5.5 hours from the buds themselves, which again is fairly, it's not groundbreaking, but it's fairly competitive again in this scene. We have pretty low latency, so audio syncing to the visuals when you're watching a movie or gaming is pretty on point. And due to the actual shape of them, and again this will vary depending on your ears, what's comfortable for me might not be for you, but the design of these do fit really nicely in my ears, and it means that I can wear them for quite a long time indeed before I feel I may have to move them a little bit. The Enco X are IP54 water resistant rated, fine for light rain and sweat, and the setup is very simple too. When you flip open the lid of the case, you should see a lovely animation of the buds with directions to connect. If for any reason you don't see that pop up, then simply going into your Bluetooth settings on your smartphone, you can sync it up that way, no problems. So these two pair together lovely, but what completes the ecosystem? Well, it is of course the OPPO Watch right here. Ding. And if you like sleek and sporty, then look no further. We have this really comfy and easily adjustable band, so the left and right edges have this infinity design that we've become accustomed to on a lot of recent Android smartphones. And this of course aids you when swiping left and right, which, because it's running with Google's Wear OS, takes you to voice assistant, heart rate and sleep tracking, to name a few. Swiping down gives you your quick settings, and up your notifications, which you can respond to directly from your watch. You have two buttons on the right hand side which lead to all of your apps, and a quick shortcut to a customized function which currently is set to My Workouts. Wear OS is, in my opinion, the most complete smartwatch operating system for Android smartphones, giving you, in addition to what I've previously mentioned, online music, exercise tracking and mobile payments, and tons more. Probably for another video though. The accompanying charger can provide the needed juice in minutes, and overall the watch is another really nice addition to the OPPO ecosystem, and to be honest, using all three feels like a really nice unit. Let me know in the comments what you think of OPPO's latest offerings. Which one would you go for? Would you go for all three? Have you got any of these? And what are your thoughts if you have? I will leave a link to all three products in the video description below, so if you are interested in any of them, you can go through and check them out. Like and share if you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and love everything tech. I think that's it. I love you, leave you. I'll see you in the next one. Says BOT. Peace out.